Hi everyone, Lori Flasco here. I help organizations wow their customers and inspire kindness around the world. And as I've been writing this book that I'm doing on kindness, I have had an incredible opportunity to meet leaders and people who also inspire kindness in the work that they do. And about a year ago at a storytelling camp with Kelly Swanson, I met Annie. And Annie is one of the kindest people that I've met, and I really want to share her story with you today. But let me tell you a little bit about her. First of all, Annie Meehan, is motivational speaker. She's an award-winning author, and she's also a certified coach. And Annie just inspires audiences around the world. So Annie, first of all, can you tell me about that? Because I know you talk kindness every day when you're working with your clients. Please share some of that with us.
I love what you said, Lori, and thank you so much for having me here. As you were talking, I was thinking, what drives my kindness, my passion for kindness and for compassion and caring in the world? And I think it was really a lifelong lesson that I had to learn first, to be kind to myself. And I think sometimes people, we're so eager to be kind to other people. At least I was. I really wanted to spread kindness and spread love. But until I started being kind and compassionate to myself, I wasn't filled with kindness, so I could elude it as I go out into the world. And so I love watching people light up. I love watching people's mind think about their thoughts and their words and like, oh, now I understand how that could be hurtful or how that could be taken wrong. What if I shifted how I said that? What if I thought about the other person's feelings, not always what's in it for me? And so it brings me great joy to spread that kindness in the world, and then to have people learn and take it into their own world and their workplace and so on and so forth. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and the words, you're right, are so important. And I think you were sharing with me how one of the men you were dealing with, he just had that big aha moment.
Yeah,
Right?
after I had spoken at an organization, this man said to me, I kind of have just been the way that I am. And I've just said, well, that's how my dad was. My dad treated my mom like that. My dad treated us kids like that. And he had this awakening. And it was after I left. Actually, I had finished speaking, and a few days later, he reached out to me and expressed that, you made me think about how I'm going to treat people from now on. Like, I don't have to be like my dad. I don't have to treat my wife like I want to be better than that to my kids and my wife. And he just was like, felt so empowered himself. Like, I have a choice here. I don't have to be the same. And that for me is probably the greatest reward of my work, is watching other people decide that where they came from is not where they have to end up, and how they've been doing things. If it doesn't work for them and it doesn't serve the people around them, doesn't have to continue, that we can shift to be better, to make better choices, to spread more kindness, encouragement with our words and our actions. So yeah, that's super rewarding.
Well, and I love what you just said. Where we came from doesn't have to be where we end up. And I think you're the perfect person to talk about that. And I know you captured my heart a year ago when you told me and a bunch of others at our storytelling camp your story. And I don't know how much you've shared it since then, but I just think it will be powerful for other people to hear your story. Will you share it with us, Annie?
Yes, I can share a piece of my story with you. And what Lori's talking about is that I grew up, I am the middle child of 7 kids, raised by a single mom, undiagnosed and untreated mental illness. And so I grew up in a really dark place. And often when people speak or talk, we assume that our story is the same as everyone else's. And many people say, well, at least your mom will be there, at least your dad, or, you can count on them, or when you're having a hard day, they'll come in and lift you up. But not everybody gets that story, and it certainly wasn't my story. I grew up in a lot of sadness, a lot of darkness, a lot of hopelessness. I had been writing a book for 20 years called Dumpster to Dynasty, and it was really about living in a physical dumpster, a hoarder house, living in a financial dumpster, being so poor that at times we literally ate out of the dumpster, and just an emotional dumpster in that our house was filled with sadness and depression. And by the time I was 18, I had moved 83 times. Some people can't imagine moving 8 times in their life. And so I had moved 83 times, and I was actually chosen by a shelter that I spent a lot of time with. There was a place called the Bridge for Runaway Youth. And though I wasn't a runaway, at times my mother was so overwhelmed with us 7 kids and her own mental health situation that she would just say, you got to go. Nobody can live here. And so from about the age of 11 years old, we would have these moments and these episodes of just trauma and homelessness. And there was a place called that Bridge for Runaway Youth. And today it's just called the Bridge, which I'm grateful, because really it's just open for anyone. But when I was 17 years old, I was supporting my 15-year-old brother. I had dropped out of high school. I was struggling with severe depression, but working 3 jobs to survive and support my brother. And the Bridge got contacted actually by the Oprah Winfrey show.
Uh-huh.
And they said, we want to hear from an exceptional teenager. And I want to tell you all that I would never identify or call myself exceptional. I was a survivor. I was often very sad, consumed by sadness, not kind to myself, and didn't have other people around me to be kind to me. And the Oprah show called me and said, would you come here and could we have you on our show? And when I was on the show, the audience was kind of hard to me and the 2 other women, like, why are you on here? And why are you homeless? And you got to think about your family. But one girl said, it's a lot easier to be abused by a stranger than someone who's supposed to love you. But it wasn't what happened on the show that mattered to me. In fact, if you ask most people who's your hero or who's your mentor, it is mom or dad or grandma or grandpa. But my father drank himself to death. My mother was unable and incapable of being that. And so I didn't really have anyone to pour into me. In fact, I didn't really believe I was worth pouring into. But after the Oprah show, she came to us. See, it's still emotional for me. She came to me and the other 2 girls, and she looked at us in the eye. And she just said, you can be anything. You can become the exception. Where you come from doesn't define who you are, and your past doesn't have to define your future. Don't let what the world says about you be the labels that you live out. And I was 18 when she said it to me. It literally took me till I was 21 to hear it, because I couldn't receive kindness, because I didn't know that I had that good in me, that I believed that. I wasn't smart. I wasn't successful in my mind. I wasn't capable. And yet today it is my joy and my passion to teach other people that they can become more than they think, more than other people told them. And to grow up lacking so much, what other people took for granted, having a home, having parents, having dinner, for me was always like, I hope I do, not that I get to. And so, yeah, that's a piece of my story, and it's a piece of my passion, is to teach other people what if no matter what you're going through, you can become.
Incredible. And what an amazing story. And you are exceptional, Annie. You are exceptional. And when I think about being resilient, I mean, you have something so powerful in yourself, but to have Oprah just say it to you, tell you the truth about yourself, right? And to say you are, and you can make that choice. I mean, you had to hear that in order to change. And now that one act of kindness that she said, you just spread this to so many people every day, right?
Absolutely. And what I realized in that moment too, and this is a big part of what I teach and what I'm so passionate about, is that many of us walk through this life feeling invisible, feeling unseen, feeling uncared for, undervalued. And so it's so important to me to see people. In fact, I'm looking at you, Lori, but I keep looking at the camera because I always think, I want people to know I see you. Even though I don't get to see you, I want you to know I'm speaking to you, because I know I always felt invisible. I always felt like I wasn't worth being seen. And that's what I remember Oprah just looking at our faces one at a time saying, you can. And that has stuck with me so much, that I want to see people when they're in front of me. I want to look up from my phone. I want to look up from the person behind them and really look at them, because that is a major component of kindness, is just seeing people, right? Like seeing their faces, speaking their name, looking at them. And so I don't think kindness can be words, kindness can be actions, but sometimes it's so subtle, like looking at someone or smiling, right? And when you're a little girl and you feel so neglected and unwanted and unloved, just to be seen felt enormous to me. It felt huge. And I know there's other people out there in this world that are hurting and that feel alone and invisible. And I just want to say, you're worth being seen, and you have value, and we all have different value, but we all have great value.
Every one of us. And I love the fact that it's just so simple, right, Annie? It doesn't, I mean, certainly there's people that do these amazing acts and things, but it boils down to just sometimes those simple, kind things. Smile, eye contact, hearing someone. And I love that you know, especially in today's time, it's about respecting each other and knowing that every single one of us has value. So awesome. Thank you for sharing that story, because I know that it's a hard one and it touches you deep. But by sharing that, other people can really relate and hear, and they know that you've done that. You've changed, you know, your history, and you've made those choices, and so can someone else.
Yes. And it doesn't have to be Oprah Winfrey. Like, Oprah wasn't Oprah that she is today. It was in 1986. But not only that, I didn't know her like that. I just knew she was paying for me to fly on an airplane to Chicago. I was like, free food in the airplane. Let's do it, you know? But I think it can be any of us. I think it can be all of us every day, to look at each other, to see each other, to speak into each other. And so many people are lonely, like you said, Lori, and especially right now, people are hurting and they feel so isolated. And some people live totally alone, and they just want somebody to see them, somebody to reach out and check on them. And I just think it's so valuable. Little things are big things.
And that's a big thing. Loneliness, they say, is almost, I mean, worse than obesity, and how painful that can be. And it's not so easy to reach out maybe physically, but we absolutely can pick up a phone and call someone and just be an ear and say, hey, I care about you, right? That connection. Yes. We're made to connect with each other.
Yes. Absolutely.
Annie, thank you for your time. And I can't wait to share this message with others. And I know that they're really going to enjoy it. So it's been a pleasure spending a little bit of time with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Laura. And keep spreading kindness. Keep being you and doing the good stuff you're doing. We need it. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.